Ever wondered how Paris became the dazzling city of light we know and love today? It's a story packed with drama, revolution, and incredible transformation. Let's journey back in time, all the way to the 3rd century BC. Before there was Paris, there was a small settlement on an island in the Seine River, Télé de la Cité. It was home to a Celtic tribe called the Parisii. Yes, that's where the name comes from. They were fishermen and traders, living a relatively simple life. But everything changed in 52 BC when the Romans, led by Julius Caesar, rolled in. After conquering the Gauls, they established a Roman city called Lutetia. They built forums, aqueducts, theaters, and public baths. You can still see remnants of this era today, like the Arenes de Lutèce and the Roman baths at the Musée di Cluny. Lutetia became a prosperous regional center, laying the foundational grid for the city that would one day captivate the world. As the Roman Empire declined, so did Lutetia. It faced raids and instability, and the population retreated back to the safety of the Aldela site, fortifying it against invaders. Around the 4th century, the city adopted the name Paris. It was also during this period that Christianity began to take root, with the legendary story of Saint Denis, the first bishop of Paris, who became a martyr for his faith. The Middle Ages were a time of massive growth and change. In 508 AD, King Clovis I, the king of the Franks, made Paris his capital. This decision cemented the city's political importance. Fast forward a few centuries, and we see the city flourishing under kings like Philip Augustus in the 12th century. He was a real city builder. He constructed the first wall around Paris, paved its main streets, and commissioned the original Louvre fortress not as an art museum, but as a defense against Vikings. This era also saw the birth of one of Paris's most iconic institutions, the University of Paris, or the Sorbonne. It attracted scholars from all over Europe, turning the city's left bank into the vibrant intellectual hub known as the Latin Quarter. Because, you guessed it, everyone spoke Latin there. And of course, we can't forget the architectural marvels. The construction of the Notre Dame Cathedral began in 1163, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture that would take nearly 2 centuries to complete. It became the literal and spiritual heart of the city. But the Middle Ages weren't all glory. The city endured the 100 Years' War with England and the terrifying Black Death, which wiped out a huge portion of its population. Yet, Paris always bounced back, proving its resilience time and time again. The Renaissance brought a new wave of artistic and cultural energy. Kings like Francis I first were inspired by the Italian Renaissance and began transforming Paris with elegant palaces and gardens. The Louvre was converted from a grim fortress into a magnificent royal residence. The city's elites built stunning private mansions, or hôtels particuliers, especially in the Marais district, which you can still admire today. Then came the 17th century, the age of the Sun King, Louis XIV. While he famously moved his court to the extravagant palace of Versailles outside Paris, his influence on the city was immense. He ordered the old city walls to be torn down and replaced with tree-lined boulevards, creating public spaces for Parisians to stroll. He also established grand city squares, like Place Vendôme and Place des Victoires, shaping the elegant aesthetic that defines Paris. The 18th century was the age of Enlightenment, and Paris was its epicenter. Thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Diderot gathered in Parisian salons, debating ideas about liberty, reason, and human rights that would change the world. This intellectual fervor was brewing just beneath the surface of a society deeply divided by inequality. The lavish lifestyle of the monarchy and aristocracy stood in stark contrast to the poverty of the common people. Tensions were rising, and the city was a powder keg waiting to explode, and explode it did. On July 14, 1789, revolutionaries stormed the Bastille prison, a symbol of royal tyranny. This event ignited the French Revolution, a decade of radical social and political upheaval. Paris was the stage for its most dramatic moments, the execution of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette at the Place de la Révolution, now known as the Place de la Concorde, and the Reign of Terror. It was a bloody and chaotic period that forever altered France in the course of modern history. Out of this chaos rose Napoleon Bonaparte. He crowned himself emperor in Notre Dame Cathedral in 1804 and set about transforming Paris into a capital worthy of his empire. He commissioned famous monuments like the Arc de Triomphe and the Madeleine Church, built new bridges over the Seine, and improved the city's infrastructure. He wanted Paris to be the new Rome. The 19th century was perhaps the most transformative period in the city's history. After Napoleon, Paris continued to grow, but it was crowded, dark, and unsanitary. Medieval streets were narrow and winding. This all changed dramatically under Napoleon's nephew, Napoleon III. Between 1853 and 1870, he tasked his prefect, Baron Haussmann, with a colossal urban renewal project. Haussmann literally reshaped Paris. He bulldozed entire neighborhoods of cramped medieval streets to create the wide, straight, tree-lined avenues we see today. He built a modern sewer system, created beautiful parks like the Bois de Boulogne and Bois de Vincennes, and standardized the elegant, cream-colored stone apartment buildings to give Paris its harmonious look. This renovation was controversial. It displaced thousands of poor residents' boot. It created the modern, open, and beautiful city that we recognize. It also made the city easier to control, preventing the barricades that had been a feature of so many Parisian uprisings. This new Paris became the capital of the 19th century. De belle époque, or beautiful era, from the late 19th century to the start of World War I, was a golden age of art, culture, and innovation. The Eiffel Tower, built for the 1889 World's Fair, became the ultimate symbol of modernity. The first metro line opened in 1900. Artists like Monet, Renoir, Picasso, and Matisse flocked to Monaco, creating revolutionary art movements like Impressionism and Cubism. The city was alive with cabarets like the Moulin Rouge, sidewalk cafes, and an undeniable huée de vivre. The 20th century brought new challenges. Paris endured 2 world wars, and Edelbonchal, the German military governor, famously defied Hitler's orders to destroy the city's landmarks, saving Paris from ruin. After the war, Paris once again became a hub of intellectual and artistic life. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir held court in the cafes of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. The city experienced significant growth, with modern architectural projects like the Centre Pompidou and the La Défense Business District adding a new layer to its historic landscape. And that brings us to the Paris of today, a city that beautifully balances its incredible history with a vibrant, forward-looking energy. From its Roman roots and medieval heart to its revolutionary spirit and artistic soul, every street corner tells a story. It's a living museum, a city that has inspired dreamers, artists, and lovers for centuries. So the next time you stroll along the Seine, climb the Eiffel Tower, or get lost in the charming streets of the Marais, remember the incredible journey this city has been on. It's a story of resilience, reinvention, and enduring beauty. Thanks for watching our journey through the history of Paris. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about the world's most fascinating places. See you next time.